Hey guys, welcome, welcome. And I'm so happy that Linda's here because I think she actually inspired me to pick up the Better Press in the first place. And I've been collecting stuff for a while. And I guess for those who aren't familiar with it, it's basically a letter pressing system that Spellbinders released, I want to say maybe 6 to 8 months ago. But I'd kind of been waiting until there was more stuff to sort of have a sense of how I feel about it one way or the other. Hi, Maddie. Welcome. And welcome, Lala, if you're still here. Oh, Miss Bell, nice to see you. Anyway, I guess I can just zoom down to the desk because I don't think we have much to chit chat about. I guess I will direct you at the events today. Well, if I don't click on the wrong thing, and I clicked on the wrong thing twice. It is that kind of a morning. There we go. Better. So I picked up a bunch of stuff over the last several months, and except Ranger Archival Cleaner, which I think I had already. I got a new one because the one I had was more or less empty. Because when I had started crafting, I had used a lot of archival ink. So anyway, there is that. Um, What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So today at 4 o'clock Central, which is my time or a different time in your time zone, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, I want to say. We're going to be playing around with snow things over on Lynn's channel. And I decided I wanted to play around with these guys. These I picked up during one of I don't know, Spellbinders had like four back to back, like warehouse sales. So I don't know which of the many warehouse sales, but they're kind of neat. They're snowflakes, and you get a shadow layer. But these two larger ones, have floral inlays. I use the ones that were like easier and don't, but that was just because I was cutting for the live at like I don't know 8 p.m. last night, and I was like, I probably don't need to make this super complicated. Let me see. Lala is here. Bella's here. I don't think I've missed anybody. Yeah, I'm excited for the MCA too. That is next weekend on my channel, but it will be hosted by Lynn, and all of Lynn's friends will be here. We'll be making a card, which I won't tell you what it is, and it can be any theme, but I'll say when I went to the craft fair for Christmas, this was the first thing that everyone picked up and the first thing that sold out. So if you do make to sell, these might be worth looking at because the version I make is very paper friendly. What else should I mention? Oh, there are things which are live now. Yesterday there was a Simon Hurley release, and I knocked things on the floor. Oh, there goes my stamp cleaner. I made a cute little kitty cat card, and there are other things. There's a video about this on my channel, so feel free to check that out if you would like. Um, and live as of the beginning here is Also Inspired over on Crafty L's channel. And I am a member of her team for at least the next 6 months. So there's a card coming. And maybe I'll sneak peek it. I'll just show you the card. It has hexagons. The inspiration card is called Hexagons and Fishtails. So anyway, so let's talk about the better press because I'm kind of rambling, and I'll walk you through what I picked up extra, and then we'll open the kit and see what we got. Linda is definitely sort of a group expert. I'm glad that she's here because she's been doing some really beautiful stuff with the better press pretty much since it released. She was an early adopter. I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the channel before, but like I'm usually not an early adopter with new tools. I like to kind of wait and see like if it's sort of an ecosystem that I'm interested in. I think the one I guess I'll say thing to be aware of with the better press is the card style is very classic and elegant. So depending on how that meshes with your vibe, you may or may not like it. I think they're pretty great, and it's not a style I do a ton, which is why I was really interested in it. Anyway, so what is this thing? Well, I think it's best to start by comparing sort of a photopolymer stamp like this guy. Had very simple lines, right? Very sketchy style. Yeah, this is Miss Bell's Valentine's Day card I haven't mailed. I swear I'll mail it before Valentine's Day. And then this is a red rubber stamp that I for a card I made a while ago. And what you can see is the red rubber stamp has a ton of detail. Like you can see the actual fur on the mouse, for example. That would be really hard to get with a photopolymer stamp just because the material is a little squishier or less rigid. Um, Rubber stamps are, I probably have an example of one somewhere. Oh, one right here. So they're made out of this vulcanized red rubber, which is very firm. The plates for the better press are made out of metal, which is even firmer than rubber. So in theory, you can get exceedingly detailed sketches essentially. So you can get artwork that you just can't get with other means. So anyway, let me see if I am missing things. Ah, interesting. I have never been to an actual craft fair in person. I should talk to Delise because I'm sure they must have some in the Chicagoland area. Like in Madison, I don't think we have any like actual events. Hey Wims, how are you? Welcome, welcome. We're playing with new things for various reasons. Uh, what else is worth mentioning? None of this stuff so I've been working with Spellbinders lately, and they've been sending me products free for review, such as the cat I just showed you, right? All this stuff I paid for, so I guess I'll say just because I like to be upfront about what stuff is comped and what isn't, just because I feel like even if you don't want it to, it kind of impacts your opinions, whether you're spending your own money or not. Anyway, so let's talk about the extras and then let's try to use the kit on its own first and then go from there. Um, so I picked up some extra card panels. Guess we can open these and see how we feel about them. Now, this is a cotton paper. It's, I believe, about 108 pounds. So it's somewhere between a mixed media and a watercolor paper. So pretty stiff. A very smooth paper. So it's much more like a hot pressed watercolor finish than a cold press. And this is in the color of, wow, I hope I didn't, oh, I did wreck that first panel. Oh, well, I guess we'll test with that and use the other side. Um, Yeah, the other side's fine. Don't do what I did. Be careful opening your card panels. Anyway, this is in the porcelain color. They basically have three different whites depending on if you want. This is like a bright white. What can we compare it to? So this is just normal white cardstock. Porcelain is, man, these card panels are these are the super value ones. I would never buy these again. These are super flimsy and they just were cut poorly. Anyway, sorry. Aside. Um Very smooth paper. They come in three different white shades. I just got the one that's like standard white, but they have sort of a other things that are not porcelain. Linda, feel free to jump in if I'm not remembering things correctly. Oh, and you're talking all about the mystery craft along. Oh, I can explain that, Maddie. So it's if for people who remember the 1900s, it's kind of like a blind scrap, people have said. Essentially, you're given a list of papers to prepare, and then you're given clues, and everybody doesn't know what the end product is. Um, the other option is you can watch the whole thing and then, make the end product. Typically for mine, I'll also put out like about an 8 to 10 minute video that basically walks you through making the card if you just want to make the card and, don't necessarily find the element of not knowing what you're doing fun. I will say I have destroyed two cards doing the mystery craft alongs live, and they've all both been repairable. So most of the projects are not like super duper complex, but I don't know. It kind of depends if it's your vibe, I will say. But I think they're fun. I mean, I think it's interesting. It's interesting to sort of I don't know quite how to put it. It's like it frees you of sort of the understanding what the destination is. So I feel like it kind of frees your mind in a certain way, but it also makes me kind of paranoid about like wrecking the card. But anywho, I'm a fan. Pick, Skip, and Craft are also called Pop Shelf. It's kind of like Stamp Wars, yeah. A little bit like that. Except Stamp Wars, essentially, you're like, the ones I've seen, you've been sort of given a destination on what to make, but it's a lot like that. It's sort of like, you know, uh, take piece one and put it on top of piece two kind of stuff. So, but feel free to, it'll be live next weekend, so feel free to watch it and then kind of jump in if you want to. You can always make stuff after the fact. Lynn is super good about posting all the community submitted projects too, which are always fun. Yeah, Lynn does that too. I guess that's worth mentioning at the top. I have all Spellbinder stuff because I wanted to give this thing its best shot. Um, Price points may vary. Obviously, like a heavyweight smooth paper, there are lots of them. I know Lynn and others have done sort of comparison videos between different things, but the main thing that's different about this and other paper is that it's 100% cotton, so it's like a hot press watercolor paper. But I know that there are some options on Amazon that are more cost effective if it's something that you were gonna, I don't know, make 50 Christmas cards with. I don't remember. Well, let me Google it quick. I don't know. They sell that in A2 and in other formats. So let's just check what the price points on that are because I don't remember. Better press, better press paper. And if you do shop at Spellbinders, I do have a referral link, so feel free to use that or not. So 25 card panels is 12.99, which means each card panel is I don't know, some amount of money. Whatever. 13 divided by 25, 50 cents. We'll see. 52 cents a card panel. And then the sheets are 40 bucks, 425. So per sheet it's a buck 60. You could probably get hot press watercolor paper cheaper than that. I would say my hot you could at least you can probably do better with hot press watercolor paper in terms of oh yeah, I forgot. I'm doing a intro to bullet journaling. Um stream with Lala. Oh, Lala, shoot me a message on Facebook if you want me to prepare anything else other than having like a bullet journal. Oh, no worries. Oh, so cold pressed paper. Actually, I probably have some somewhere. I do. It's right behind me. Maybe. Yeah. Cold pressed paper. Here we go. So, and I don't know if it's gonna read on camera, but cold pressed paper, it's not. Really. Cold pressed paper has a texture to it. This one is a fairly light texture. This might not even be cold pressed. It says it's a cold pressed finish. Cold pressed, it has sort of a rougher texture. Um, which is gonna make your stamping not stamp perfectly. So you can see that as a pro or a con. I am a big, big fan of cold pressed watercolor paper because I just like watercolor to look watercolory, and it helps with that. Like the roughness basically means you have sort of hills and valleys, and that lets your pigment kind of yeah, sorry, I'm doing jazz hands today. Lets your pigment kind of granulate out and gives you some really fun variation. A lot of people, including Elizabeth and other friends of mine, really like hot pressed paper for both oxide ink blending and stamping because you're going to get a cleaner impression. So, probably the reason the Better Press has the paper that it does is so that you can get a clean impression. That I want to say Canson makes pretty much everybody makes watercolor paper that you've heard of is probably makes a hot press. Canson does. I have some Legion Stonehenge, which is a really nice watercolor paper that would be interesting to try in the Better Press. But again, I decided that it would be worth starting with Spellbinders and then sort of having that at least as a reference and then jumping off from there. To make it even more complicated, there's also rough texture watercolor paper, which is really, really rough and probably isn't super suitable to stamping. But if you really like um, a more textured paper, it exists. I've never bought it because oh, okay. Cool. I will look for that. Somehow I missed that one. Yeah, and it depends what you like. The other thing you can do with all these sort of cotton papers is if you're playing with dry pigments and wind up with pigments on your work surface, you can just mist the whole thing down and then do some ink smushing if you want to sort of use it to clean up. If you're cleaning up your work surface, I am a big fan of using the cheap Canson paper because Canson you can get here at oh, hello, Marla. Welcome. Um, Canson you can get for about 10 cents a sheet. Most of this watercolor paper is like $1 a sheet, with a shirt sheet being sort of a 9 by 12. Anyway, we are way off topic today, but that's okay. It's a very chill stream today. I swear we'll eventually make a card. But others have done some really good explorations in terms of what inks work and what don't. But if you were to ask Spellbinders, they recommend the ink that they made specifically for the purpose, which is a lot like archival ink, but as I understand it, is slightly stickier, so it sticks to the metal pad better. The base kit comes with black, and I bought a black refill. The other thing to be aware of is that this particular technique uses a lot more ink than a standard stamp, um, according to Spellbinders. So I bought sort of their I think this is their Royals. Oh, this comes with an extra black. That's probably okay. So it comes with sort of a dark purple, a brown. The brown I'm really interested in because I've been doing more vintagey things lately. So I think I might get a refill of the brown next if I did. And then I bought sort of I think this is their garden one. Does it say what these are called? No. Garden. Oh, it's on the back. Sorry. These are the Regal tones. That sounds very fancy, doesn't it? I don't know if I'm quite that fancy. And then these are the garden ones. I got the garden ones because I'll probably want to do something in the spring. And all these inks should be waterproof, of course, in theory. So you could definitely watercolor on top of it. I've seen Linda's done a lot of that, and they're really quite pretty. As we get into it, you'll see that they're very floral heavy, essentially. These are sentiments, obviously. You definitely can. Lynn's done a lot of explorations. We should try that. We will try a what if I just do it with paper I had on hand? Because I'm curious to see what the difference is. Like if we don't use, I mean, because I think that's sort of the issue with these kind of systems, right? It's like, well, I need new ink and I need new plates and I need new cardstock, and like if you were to say like, well, The base system I think is still 79 bucks, and then these plates range from 20 to 30. So like you can spend a lot of money on this, right? So I think that to me was the potential do I really need this kind of vibe in the sense of like, well, no, but I really want to try it because it looks like a really neat technique. Ooh, well that sounds really cool. L LDRS? I didn't know they do you know if if the LDRS plates are sold through LDRS or if they're sold through Spellbinders directly? That's cool. I picked up their sentiment stack, so if they made a press plate version of any of those, that would be really interesting to me. Oh, I have tons of Catherine Pooler. Do I have Catherine Pooler ink? I have what do we have? We have this ink and we have this ink and we have Midnight somewhere. Oh, Midnight's right here. I guess Midnight would be a fair comparison. Whoop, sorry, off camera. But yeah, I think that would be a that would be a good I think test because I use Catherine Pooler inks a lot and like them. I think like a Versifying Claire would also be worth looking at in terms of how these things press. But anyway, let's just go through the flesh plates and open this thing up and play with it and then do some of those tests. So these are very hard to read. Someone was saying that they had made like a cheat sheet for their like they remounted these on like a magnet board, but they had said what these things are. Anyway, let's see. These are what is this called? Always and forever sentiments. Feel better Thune, thanks a million. So proud of you. I like so proud of you. That's one of my favorites. The card I sneak peeked has one of my other favorite sentiments on it. Forever grateful. Hello, sweet friend. You're in my thoughts. A lot of good stuff. I love these as an idea because the thing sorry, I know I drive people insane when I leave the messages up. The thing I hate is like I finish a card and then it's like, oh man, I have to find a sentiment. So I love the idea of like any of these kind of things where you can just potentially crank out a whole ton of sentiments. Anyway, we got that. These came from the Christmas sale. I really like this one with the really big flower, whatever this is. The press bouquet. This was in their clearance sale. I like that one a lot. Then I got the pine boughs, which I don't know. I figured I would these were worth buying just because like, I don't know. I'm going to be making a lot of winter cards until I get sick of them and start making spring cards. And then this is an old Better Press of the Month. It's again as you can see like this between this and these three like bouquets are a very big theme in the line. I don't have any of them here, but they also have a lot of press plates that have either a corner or like the full um like like a frame die, right? So they have a lot of those too. So this is really heavy, surprisingly so. Like this is maybe almost as heavy as my Platinum 6. So there's a lot of weight in the base piece, which as others have said told me is called the chase. Then there anyway, but let's see what we get. We get a plate, we get some ink, we get some paper, we get some tape. I have more of the tape here already, so I probably won't go into a new roll, but configuration wise, it's sort of like the Glimmer, where it's a big chunky thing, and you run it through your die cut machine. Actually, I should probably move these because I probably need more room than I have. Anyway, let us open this up. There's probably a There's probably a nicer way to say that than a big chunky thing. So we have card, which is the same card we have. It looks like you get less than 25. I'm not sure how many you get, but this is the 25 pack that I just got. This is the one, and I think they give you a few of each. So um, let's compare colors quick. Perhaps we should be a little more careful and not like mangle the paper by being a little too vigorous in our unboxings. So I think this is porcelain on top, and then you have sort of a light cream, and then you have sort of a these are sort of the three colors. And I got it the porcelain. I do like the cream a lot. This cool tone one is nice. I don't know. It would definitely mute out anything you would color over it. So, but I do like the middle one. I think if I bought more paper, I would buy the cream. And then whoop, we drop things on the floor. Dropping things already. So we have the black BetterPress ink, which is probably the one we're gonna play with first. Um, Again, kind of like the paper, it's a smaller roll than you'd buy if you just bought your standard best ever craft tape, which is a Spellbinder staple that you probably are may or may not be familiar with. I do like their craft tape. I don't know that it's significantly better than washi in my opinion, but you know. So this is the plate we get. I guess we should. I apologize. I'm ignoring all you guys, but it's about the same size as the ones they sell. So I mean, I think it's a good, slightly on the smaller size. This is probably more like a $15 plate, where these are more like the more the 20-ish dollar ones, and it's about 30 bucks if you want things with coordinating dies. Let me see what I am missing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I held off for a while. Um, I've been really inspired by some of the stuff I've seen people do, and I wanted to try it out. And I've gotten some cards in real life, and I did like how they look. Oh no, I know you don't do lives. I just have seen some of the work you've posted, and I thought it was really good. But allegedly, I guess we'll find out in moments. It should be easy to use. Now there is a manual, and we probably should read it. Uh, and there's cardboard, which we don't need. This is coated with stuff and things. I think it's coated. It feels coated. There we go. Sort of like the trimmers. It ships with like a protective coating. And then these are shims essentially, and they're really thin. And someone had said, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I will tell you what I have heard, that the purpose of these shims essentially, like you can see that it is to get sort of a more custom fit, but it's also potentially if this magnetic plate sits inside this thing, but you put in your shims first. Other people have also speculated that if thicker paper is sold, you could just remove the shims, and that would sort of future proof your system. So it has these little sort of similar to if you guys remember those like stamp positioners where they have little spring feet and then you just push down. These are similar. So these are little springs, and basically you tape the card to the top part or the whatever you're pressing, and then you put the plate down on the magnetic surface. And then these are magnets and they line up. And essentially what happens is when you run this through your machine, it pushes it down, which creates an impression until you run it through your machine. Oh, I like this. These magnets are strong enough where it's not going to fall off. But let's be at least somewhat sane and refute the things. It tells you that you have. Oh, this is funny. This is so magnetic that like the staples on this instruction statement sitting down. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I might remove them, like if I wanted to go try pull out my Stonehenge Aqua and try that. Although that's probably I guess what you'd really want to do is fight. I'm curious if you used like a non-cotton paper, how that would work out. Anyway, so it tells you what all the things are, and we know that. We need to open the ink at some point. So place the shims on the chase, place the thingy, place your plate, tape your cardstock to the top, open your better, lightly tap raised ink pad across the better plate. Yeah, tap, tap, tap. Also, these only come in little ink pads, just as an FYI. Folks have speculated that that was basically done to make it easier to apply. And so they're really, and the ink pads themselves are kind of raised up to make it easier to do that. I'm curious to see how much ink I get all over myself doing this. Then you align the plate, you run it through your whatever, and you have a beautiful thing, and all is right with the world. So let's try this with, so let us flip this over and get a panel in place. And let me do this on camera. So it is, actually, let me grab, do I have some white paper? Do you think I would? Oh, here we go. Let me just grab some white paper so this is easier to see. So essentially, what you're trying to do is line this up. I'm curious. Yeah. So you'd kind of line this up, and then we want to tape it down. If I can find my tape. And then, I mean, kind of like washi, this stuff is pretty reusable. Oops. Until it stops being sticky. I guess I should tape where the thingy is. Kind of like watercolor paper. I tend to like to not tape too much because you don't run, if you tried to stamp over where it was taped, it would be tricky. So it's finding the end on your tape when you lost it. Where'd you go, little tape end? Oh, here it is. And once you get one of these down, getting the rest is pretty straightforward. I do think the thing I would be most likely to do is just like not line this up correctly and then have a slightly skewed image. I do think that's sort of one of the pros of having so many like floral images essentially is like if you don't try to get it completely straight, you're probably going to have a nicer time. Now, where did I put our, just make sure I didn't magnet it to the bottom. Looking for the, so I just had it too. I could be annoyed if I lost something already. Oh, here it is. And most folks I've seen store these on the magnetic sheets they use for everything else. This does come with sentiments. Maybe we will use one. It says things in reverse. Oh, it says the same thing, only one of the favorites is the UK spelling and one is the US. To my favorite person. Uh, and we can just line that up. Think just FYI, this will flip when you press it, so that's and this piece does kind of disintegrate when you try and get the plate off, so this does feel like um remounting your plates is going to be a necessity. So let's see what this. Which the nice thing is it shows you what this thing looks like. So I'm going to intentionally try and make this not straight so that so the way they kind of have it is, and you can slide these off, which is nice. These are pretty stuck down. So like what I'm thinking is you could do that. And then you have sort of white space here. And the grid makes this pretty straightforward. I'm just sort of lining up person with this bottom line. So when this is flipped, it should press. What we can do is just sort of test this out. We can't see the plate, which is cool. This looks about as straight as I would expect me to get it. Um, Let me see if I'm missing anything. Cotton is okay. No cotton is okay, but you don't get a pressed image. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's what Lynn said, that you sort of like you tap and twist, basically. I just got ink on the chase, so you sort of tap down, twist off, I think is what people have said. And you can see the ink sticking to the plate here. I don't know like how aggressive to be with the ink, so I guess we'll find that out. You can kind of see it because the plate itself is gray. I don't think it's probably showing on camera very well, but like in real life, you can see that there's sort of the black ink on here. Okay. I guess maybe Linda can speak to this. Do you know how long the ink stays wet? I guess I shouldn't dilly-dally, but oh, good. Don't stick the thing clear on your desk to the thingy. I do like that everything magnetizes. And I know that other people have said like when you run this through, it doesn't feel like it's doing anything. So we shall see. Yeah. So here's one run through. Let us see how this worked out. This is definitely this was definitely not hard to crank through. And the reveal is wow, really good. I'm surprised. This is much better than I was anticipating. I mean, just from the standpoint of it being a first attempt, and I always feel like it takes a while to get a sense of things. So, well, we can just leave the tape on our camera because we're that kind of sophisticated person. And I just ripped the paper with the tape, which is unfortunate. Um, I do this with watercolor stuff as well, so I mean, it's not the worst thing. But what you can do, and some of this is sometimes like new tape is just super sticky, but what you can do is if you get a corner loose, if you pull at an angle, it tends to rip it less. But I did wind up ripping the fancy expensive paper. So there's that. Um, but obviously we can just cut the panel here and because we hit this luckily was on the side with not much, we can just cut this off. Um, so how long does this take to dry? Let's see. I didn't get ink on my hand. I don't think I smudged it. Um, there is a slight, I'm driving someone insane with my leaving the comments up. So you feel it, there's a slight deboss. It's not visually apparent to me in real life. The flowers are very detailed. So if I were to compare it's somewhere on my desk, but like compared to an alt new stamp, for example, who an alt new does fantastic florals. I think this looks really cool. So I would say definite win. Tape probably might be tape that you'd want to um de-stick a little bit if you're in a winter climate and wear fuzzy things all winter. You can just use like your hoodie and the tape and add a little lint, and that generally will prevent it. But we're gonna wind up having to just cut this, and that's cool. But that does raise the question of how easy does this paper cut? Let's find out. Of course, my paper cutter is over there because why wouldn't it be? Here we go. So let's just cut off the part we jacked up. This is 4 1/4. I think we have more than a quarter. So let's cut this 373 3 3/4. Um, it's definitely chunky paper. Like this guillotine is great, but so now we're gonna have a slight. So we could either. So when we mat this on a card, where's the card? Let's say we. Now we could cut some of the base off and sort of mat it down like that with this, which I think is what I'll do. I think I can get rid of some of that. So if we cut to 5, I want to say is the right number here. If we did 3 3/4, I think 5. Well, probably math is hard. I took off a 1/4 inch, so I probably want to take off this 5 1/4. So I guess I want to take off a 1/4 inch and look at that. That's pretty good. Maybe a 1/4 inch from the top, and then this would be that's the right size. Oops. I mean, that's the right dimensions. It's a little tight. I'll probably mat this on something else, but I think that looks good. I do like the technique. I'm surprised how much debossing there is for it feeling like I didn't do anything. And I think I mismeasured that last cut, but I mean, I feel like if you matted this on like more white, well, I probably wouldn't mat it on white. If I matted it on like cream that I don't have at my desk. Anyway, I think the first attempt was good. We will be a little more careful with the tape. Let us go press something else. Um, guess we can figure out how well this stuff cleans up. Is this cleaner open? I don't know. Oh, no. Well, that's cool. I'm curious to see how well this cleans. Oh, there we go. That's probably more cleaner than I need, but hey. So I'll just grab a cloth. Let's see. Oops. Yeah, that definitely gets the ink off, so that's a plus. I will probably should let this dry a little. We have a little oopsie there. I don't know how much I care. Um, just as an FYI, I mean, depending on you and how it will come off. I guess it depends on how type A you are about cleaning things. I'm just gonna let this dry for a second, but so that we can test what Maddie was curious about is how does this work with midnight? And hopefully we won't jack up our plate because that would make me sad. But let us just reproduce what we had before. Grab our "You Are My Favorite Person" about the same place. I sense I'll be less careful about cleaning this part, and I'll probably get it all messy over time. Let me see what I am missing. Yeah, I'm surprised that like it worked so well the first time. Like I'm more of a like I always figure it takes a long time. But yeah, I think this is really cool. I want to try watercoloring this a little bit. Let's do so. Let's try what Maddie requested, which I think will have to be a little zippy on because I don't know how long the Catherine Pooler ink dries really fast. So, and hopefully it doesn't stain the plate. I mean, but the nice thing about Catherine Pooler is it's really easy to get on things. And oh shoot, I didn't tape my plate down. That was a mistake. Oh goodness. This might be a hot mess. I may re-ink that a little bit. But the nice thing is there's writing, so you can tell which side of this you're on. But anyway. I'm curious if attempt two, if the will still rip the cardstock. The thing about how these press is that because this is like the face of the face of the card, ripping it is kind of annoying. Alrighty, let us put this down. If this doesn't work well, we can re-ink it. Um, and it's interesting when it kind of adheres, like it clicks in, which is really nice. Like you can really hear that the better press impressed. Is that the word I want? So let's see what midnight looks like. It looks like really nice. What's our the midnight I think came out a little bit darker, although like the midnight you see when it pressed, like you might want to take one of the shims out. Like this definitely gave you a harder line, depending on if you like that or not. Let's see if we can't clean this up. In theory, this will be water soluble. The other thing that might be fun to play with, here's hoping. I'd be really mad if I mean not mad, but like so without ink cleaners, we're probably gonna want to bust out that ink cleaner. So I am happy that it didn't a little bit of more of the cleaner. So the cleaner is getting off the Catherine Pooler ink. Yeah. So it did the ink remover, the archival ink remover, which appears to be a resin. It looks oily, not so much. It doesn't look like a water-based product, but it is cleaning off the plates. That is pretty cool. Let me grab another one. I will have to. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like I would take a shim out with the Catherine Pooler ink. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think that's what Lynn concluded too. I mean, I don't. Lynn's not really a Catherine Pooler aficionado. I have a Catherine Pooler obsession, but now that this is dried, let us. And I think the other thing, let us see. Maybe this feels less sticky. No, it's still kind of the case still kind of jacking up the paper. So I should have done that thing I suggested before because I'm still getting some paper carriage. I mean, it's not awful, but I should have done that thing I suggested. Anyway, let's just take a look at these. But I didn't rip up the paper to the point that it's noticeable. I just see some paper lint coming through. So the better press, looks finer in the detailing. The Catherine Pooler does not. I'm interested. What if we do Catherine Pooler again, but let's take out a shim? Like, maybe we can. Let's take out one of these shims and see how it looks different. I feel like you'd want a small midnight though. Like, what do we have? Oh, we could do it in pink. Do I have a small something? I probably have a small something somewhere. Although I feel like I want to keep playing around. But I think a small ink pad is going to get less ink on the chase, depending on how much cleaning that up matters to you one or another. Let's actually do the thing. Let's do another. I want to do another test with the Catherine Pooler uh with that shim removed to see if that works a little bit different. I feel like it's a little overstampy, but obviously that's something that we can fix through trial and error. What else is worth noting? Oh yeah, the Catherine Pooler is a dye-based ink, so it will not be water safe. But and I definitely get more ink all over the place. But some of that is just because I really like her ink pads for that reason. Like they're just really nice um from a standpoint that like inking things isn't a pain in the butt. Um, One thing I was not a huge fan of with the Simon Hurley ink pads was that it just sort of was a struggle to get ink. Although I feel like some of that was me being new. Like I feel like had I not thrown all of mine away, like and tried it now, I would probably have much better um results just as like a person who has done more card things. And yeah, so I think with the Catherine Pooler, definitely getting rid of a shim will make you get closer looks to the Ranger. Um, but yeah, I don't feel like sorry, I'm probably driving someone insane. But we can just put that here. This was the second one. This was the first one. You get the same imprinting on both, really. This is more imprinted and this is less imprinted, if that matters to you. I should, but as you see, like in this area, it's very heavy in this first one. Oh, and my camera decided to be stupid. One moment. Should pop back in momentarily. There we go. And it should flip. There we go. Okay, so this was press number one. The impressing is stronger. You can see like on the F, you kind of have this a little extra bleeding. If I sent this to someone, would they know? No, of course not. And then this is the second one with one of the shims removed, and you can see that it's probably similar. But this is still a little, it's like the ink does it less ink sticks almost, so that this is a little, with the better press, it's has more of a finer line, but again, like I feel like we're getting a little nitpicky. Like this has a very fine line, if that's the thing you like. My guess is that the formulation is designed to do that. And what else should we test? Let's test. I think testing Versifying Clear would be worthwhile. Let's clean off a little bit. Feel like I would go through a lot of ink cleaner if I used full size ink pads with this system because it's like you just get all these smudgies all over the chase. if you care. I mean, y'all have seen my Misty, and like it's pretty jacked up most of the time when it comes to how things look. But I think these have all been successful. Like we haven't had like a complete fail here. I guess what we could try cheap paper. I want to try the Versifying Claire. I guess I will try I think I'll try Versifying Claire. And that's upside down. So don't put your sentiment upside down. That is one of the things that's a little tricky. I mean, I guess it's tricky. Well, I feel like with a Misty, it's not tricky because you can look through the door, but you are sort of lining everything up in reverse. But no, I think if you like this look, it is for sure. This is for sure worth it. I will say the system does everything that they claim it will. So that part's cool. Do you want to get into buying multiple whole lines of ink? I don't know. I think that's a harder question. Um, I don't know, Linda. I guess I should look at these. Oh, hi, Kim. How are you? I'll give you a quick review. So we've tried 3 times. This was the first one that we did with the actual Better Press ink. This is the second time we did with um, Catherine Pooler Midnight. Then we removed a shim and did it with Catherine Pooler Midnight again. I think if you took out another shim, you'd get more of this kind of a fine line look. And as you remove shims, you get less embossing. I don't feel like you can feel the embossing, but I don't know that I can see it in real life. All these are successful. These two are not water safe. This one is, although all of these you could ink blend on top of. But we just are testing sort of inks that we commonly use to sort of answer the question of are there differences with the Better Press ink? And there are. I mean, I think you could tell that the Better Press ink gives you this finer line look. Like some of the shading is a lot less intense. Like this leaf is shaded, but here it's like really shaded. So I don't know. I don't know that I would say that either. I feel like you could fine tune your system to get whatever look you like. I agree. I mean, I think it's a. So I like Catherine Pooler a lot. That's sort of no secret. I wish they'd sponsor me, but um. So let's try the Versifying Claire, just because I feel like a the other one we could try is Ink on 3 has a hybrid ink I like a lot. If I can find where I put it, maybe we'll try that at a different time because I'm not sure where that went. But um, I'll do the same technique with this. I feel like the Versifying Claire, I'm getting ink all over it less. Some of that is just due to how the Catherine Pooler inks are constructed. I feel like the system itself is very well made. Like I don't feel like you would have like fails with this system ever. I mean, in the same way, well, that's interesting. Yep, there we go. I feel like with 3 shims in and the better press ink, you get more of a definite click when like the pressing happens. But we shall see. And oh, that is interesting. That's really interesting. So like I think it might be because of the paper. This is really neat because, like, here we got a very firm press with the Versifying Claire. I feel like the VersaFine Claire looks the blackest of our inks. Here you can see them all together. I feel like this is hard to see in real life or in on the camera, but like I feel like for the amount of ink, sorry, I should that's the first one. Let's grab the second one because I feel like the second one here was more successful. But I think all the results are good. I think is the short version. I think the one thing I would want to be a little cognizant of is if I'm mixing like dye-based inks and non-dye-based inks, I want to know which is which. Um, so I don't know. I'm very impressed. I have not screwed anything up, and I think that's a testament to a well-designed system. But I am interested to try a little watercolor on these, and hopefully we don't screw up which is which. But I'm curious how that would look. Especially like a very light watercolor look. I feel like wouldn't want to like detract from the line art too much. Hey Kendra, how are you? We are playing with BetterPress things and essentially doing experiments. This is my first time ever using the system. I'm really impressed, not to be like work nerd me too much, but the actual instructions provided with the system are like really good. This I think is it bad to say I think their instructions are the best part of their system because like it's very straightforward. Um, and it's interesting because it's yeah, and like we got all it got so I guess I'll say like this Ranger ink cleaner is really nice. It's gotten all of the things off. And we have a few different card panels. Hey Jim. I signed up for it this month because I really liked the poppy image. I guess I concur with your feeling on the clubs in that um for me all of their all this you shouldn't just say Spellbinders clubs, but all clubs generally are hit and miss. So like if there's a brand that you love everything they make, it's a good thing, but most brands aren't that. So I'm gonna keep these two out. These are the two Catherine Poolers. The second one I really, really like. This is the first one. But the second one I think is beautiful. In fact, I'm gonna put these to the side, but let's see. Because I just got somewhere in my stash. I got some of these detail blenders, which I think are actually makeup tools, but hey, I may need to get more, but anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I feel like all these clubs are a little hit and miss for me. Well, let's do pink. I don't know what flowers these are supposed to be, but let's try this detail blender and let's see if we just went in with a little pink. Wow, that's really vibrant. Okay. Note to self, tap off next time. But what you can do, and I think you could probably do this with well, let's tap off. Um with the pastel too is just sort of come in and like hit it with a little bit of dye ink. And that's I'm just tapping off to the side so I'm not gonna like and that is really pretty. But yeah, I mean I'm kind of a I guess I'll say I like the idea of clubs more than I love actually being in clubs, just because I feel like you wind up with like every so often things are hit or miss, or like maybe it's a month that they're doing Mother's Day, and you don't really send Mother's Day cards because you don't have someone like that who in your life currently who wants them. Like I mean, come on, how cute is that? That took me 4 seconds. Although I do need to find a green now. Ooh, we could use this new green. It's actually teal, but this new Uptown I haven't used. Let's play with that. Anyway, so this is Catherine Pooler. This is blending on top of blending. Let's grab the other blender. I'm gonna need a lot more of these blend. I like these blenders. I think they're probably just makeup tools that are being repurposed as craft tools, but what am I missing? Yeah, me too. I mean, these are just ones I got from Walmart or somewhere in Asia. They were quite inexpensive. Let me clean up. I'm just sort of I'm doing what I don't usually do, and I'm tapping off on just on my mat. This is not open. But I definitely think I don't know that there's a strong need to just run out and buy all the things. I guess I could just tap off on the lid. That would be intelligent. Then I could actually use this again. Ooh, I like this. That is fun. Here's a close up on the flowers. I mean, basically, it's like coloring. I mean, it's a lot like coloring like a red rubber stamp, where there's so much detail in the actual stamp that you're basically just sort of coming in and like coloring it a little bit, and you don't need to do a lot of like you don't need to do a lot of complicated anything. Yeah, I am liking these. I may need more of these brushes because I don't know how. I don't think cleaning them would be a thing I would want to do. But I'm just more impressed that like this system actually worked the first time. Like I always feel like a lot of tools are kind of like I don't know. This will probably sound awful as like someone who is a product expert at times, but like it's like if you look at a product expert doing it, it's sort of like okay, but like they probably have way more access to people who are experts in using the thing. So like is it going to work that way for me? I feel like is always kind of an interesting question. Well, I'm liking that. That is a pretty card panel. And these are full size A2s, so obviously you can trim these down however you would like. That's pretty cute. Let's see. I'm curious how the this same that same approach would look if we did it on the Spellbinders original, using all the original things. Just because I don't know their paper that well. Yeah, like the cotton paper doesn't absorb quite as much as well, wait a minute, this is all the same paper. I am wrong. I am just being a little less heavy-handed. Okay, well that's fine. Um, the ink isn't moving, which is cool. Allegedly, this ink is waterproof, but not uh, alcohol marker proof. So I guess the other test that would be worth doing is with like something like a memento to understand if you wanted to sort of get more of that vibe, how that would look. I do want to try watercoloring the panel I did with the VersaFine Claire. I might change out these flowers. I may leave these just white on here. I kind of like them white. Or we could look for a yellow ink, which I don't know if I have one. Anyway, yeah. Or we have one of these left. What if we did these with a little bit of lunar paste? Because I have some pink lunar paste sitting on my desk. Sort of cut that off. Hopefully this isn't, oh, that didn't pick up as much. Hopefully, note to self, rinse this when I'm done, but let's see. Ooh, these don't apply as nicely with lunar paste, but that's okay. Obviously the lunar paste is more coaty. I don't like the look as much. Let's switch back. That's a little more. That's much. That's much coatier. And then you lose the line work that you like was the point of this whole thing. Let me just yeah. So these are actual like mini brushes. I'm just I'll have to give that a good clean later. But like it's sort of obscuring the line work because lunar paste is lunar paste. So I think I will go back to pucker up. Actually, I have some pucker up on the lid. I like the dye ink look, I guess, the best because you can still sort of see the line work, and you can go in with whatever level of the bristles are actually. This is actually constructed sort of like a foundation brush. So like the more vertical you hold this, the more you're just sort of using the tips of the bristles, and the more like a pencil you hold this, the more you're gonna get the sides of the bristles, so it's gonna deposit more ink more quickly. But there are sort of three different flower looks. I like the first one better. This one I like better than this one. But hey, this is more of an experiment than anything. Um, this third flower is a really interesting kind of look because it's a lot less pigmented, so it's more of a lighter pink. These got a lot of saturation. This is more of a because the line work on this one is bolder. I do like it, but the question was, and I'll leave one alone. This one was the. I guess I should pay attention to. Alrighty, have a good one, Lala. Hey, Cindy, how are you? I agree. And sympathy is a thing I have a really hard time with. So I think you are correct there. I mean, I think they do have like sympathy and wedding and like they have because of the way the art's constructed, like to me they have a very yeah, I agree with you too, Cindy. They have a very elegant look, right? But like some of that it's like a formal elegant look, I guess, which obviously I kind of tend towards cute, but like I feel like you could use them like you could use their sentiments, but you could obviously put on other sentiments too. So I feel like they would work for like just a really wide range of cases. I'm curious to see how these watercolor though. Where oh here we go. So let's grab itty bitty brush. Grab my number two. And I will figure out where my water is. Here's my water. We could probably just utilize some of the colors we have. Let's utilize this because we were playing with the teal color before. Let's just sort of re-wet this teal a little. Let's see how this looks. Ooh, I'm liking this. Oh, that's nice. So by using a small brush, we can really get into it, but you can get really subtle color, which I really like. I like the subtle color look. Oh, did I miss some? Oh, hello, Scott. How are you? Yeah, and I don't really have that much like formal stuff. Like it's not an aesthetic I go for, so I am really liking this for that. This is totally not the right way to paint, but so the Versifying Clear isn't going anywhere, as I would assume it wouldn't. I'm loving the subtle teal though. Although I'm kind of out of it, so we'll have to. Oh, I think I got into a little something else here. Where did you go, my watercolors? Did I pull them? Oh, here they are. On my desk. Who would have thought? Grab our little swatchy chart. Oh, we could do like a neon rose. That probably isn't, probably not what we're going for today, but I think it was this teal. Yeah, it was that teal that we were playing with. Hooray. Just grab some clean water and dilute that out a little bit. Yeah, paper is really nice for watercolor, I will say. Because it's cotton, the watercolor actually, like, you don't have the issues that I tend to have with, like, whatever you want to call it, like pulp-based paper, where, once it sort of gets into the paper, it's really hard to move around. This is not that. So we have our little leaves. Let's grab oh, we have a nice purpley color sitting on my palette. So let's just re-wet that and play with that because I think that would give us a nice subtle look. I don't actually, does anyone know what these flowers are actually supposed to be? Like, I'm assuming I feel like these flowers should be white. I don't know where my helpers are. They're sleeping somewhere. They're here. I'm kind of surprised. Maybe we hit like their napping schedule. Oh, I'm liking this a lot. So on the cotton paper, this watercolor is super easy to move around. I am liking that. I like it better than the ink for that reason. Like it would be very easy to just put it where you want it. And obviously I'm doing this really fast and probably not the way one would prefer, but I don't know. Like it definitely I'm kind of intentionally leaving some of the tips of the petals not colored in, or whatever term we want to use today. I'm gonna just so I'm putting most of the color on the petal and then I'm just doing a little on the edge, except for there where I missed a little bit. So here's a more subtle color version as opposed to like this one. So you can get some pretty different looks on the same thing. And the only other thing I really wanted to test today is cheaper paper, which is to say, paper I already had. Let me just get some wire up. So I think we'll keep this the same. We'll stick with the Claire. Oh, this is neat. You can flip this. Well, that's convenient. What paper might I use? Let's use. I forget if the fluid is. Let me see if this fluid is. So let's try this for giggles. This is fluid 100. It is watercolor paper. It is made out of wood. It is 4 by 6, so it is not the right size. But it is paper I had around. So and it's paper I like for watercolor quite a bit. Now this is not gonna fit, which is fine. Oops, try that again. So this is going to be skinny widthwise because it's 4 inches versus 4 1/4. And it's gonna be tall on the top, which doesn't really matter. But it's just our design is covered, and that's all that really matters. So that's cold press watercolor paper, which is probably the wrong thing to use. This is and this Versafine Clear comes in other colors. I really like whatever this blue one is called, Twilight a lot recently. But let's stick with black because I feel like if I was just like this is sort of what I would do using inks I had already around. Although with a bigger ink pad, you do like covering this thing is a lot easier. So this will be an interesting one to see how it works or doesn't. Because this is using all stuff I already had. So it'll be very interesting to me to see. Now you can feel there's a little more pressure on this, probably because the watercolor paper is 140 pounds, I want to say. Actually, I could tell you if I read it. It is the wrong kind of paper. It is 300 GSM, 140 pounds. So it is thicker. And let's reveal. And looks like I didn't ink it properly right there on the edge. That edge is a little light, although I don't hate it. Um, again, it works great. I think that if anything, it's a testament to the fact that the system just works regardless of whether you use the right stuff or not. What I'm talking about is like you can see this edge right here of the flower is less defined. So that is probably due to user error on my part. Ink's not transferring. Ink dried very quickly. Uh, but I'm surprised. I thought it wouldn't work as well because this is cold press texture and the other ones are really smooth. So I don't know. I think my takeaway is that you can use whatever you have, honestly. I don't see. I mean, I can see if you aesthetically like one thing over the other, but I don't see a ton of difference. Now, some of that might be that I haven't done this before, but I don't know. Once this dry, I'm gonna clean this, and then just sort of leave this to dry on the side once we get all the ink off the thingy. The other nice thing is because of the shimming, this like the part of the chase with the grid marks that's the meten- like magnetic matte part, is really easy to slide plates off of. You do kind of need to go in here a little bit to fully clean this off. I'm certainly not like the most, oh my God, all my stamps need to be perfectly clean, but I'm just giving this a little bit more of a clean just because Like you can see on these leaves, it might need a little bit more juice. And it's interesting. They have some sort of finish on them, but I'm sure like stamps, it's like over time they just sort of, even though they're metal, like the finish itself kind of just looks a little worn in. Well, you loved, used. I don't know. It would be interesting if someone who's had a better press for a while, like in one of our groups, could just sort of show like what does this look like after you've used it for a bit. But I don't know. Again, with the watercolor paper, I think you could. Let's look at all the ones we did today. So this is the last one. This is watercolor and Versamark. I don't think I inked this area quite properly, but everything else looks good. So I feel like honestly you could use what you have. Like if you ignore the lunar paste, which I really don't like, but like I think you get you can feel the impression on the Spellbinders cardstock the most, but other than feeling the impression, like I don't know, none of these stand out to me as being particularly better or worse. So I think you could definitely start with. I mean, this is the one in the watercolor paper, and then like I don't know that you look at these and say one's inherently better than the other. So I don't know. I think you could definitely just start with like if you bought the base kit, I feel like you could just start with whatever you had and just sort of run with that. Especially if you didn't like want to buy into, if you had some paper that you thought was that you liked using. I'm just putting my shim back so I don't forget about it and lose it. But there we go. And I do like how this all kind of will. I like how the magnet will keep your clear plate on top of this thing. So you know, you can keep it all together as a system and not lose things in theory. But I don't know. I guess generally speaking, I would say things look very successful. I like watercolor better than ink because you can be a lot more subtle, and I feel like subtle works really well with this style. But I mean, this is Catherine Pooler ink, and this looks great too. So I don't know. I would stay away from anything like lunar paste that actually coats, just because um, you're gonna lose a lot of the line work, and that's kind of the point of the whole system. But I don't know. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. I appreciate it. I will be back online sooner rather than later. I haven't. I almost bought the Altenew ones because they look really pretty. I mean, like Altenew does a bang in floral, so I mean, I think their Altenew's florals would be really nice. Well, see, I like the so my bias towards first looks has always been like ever since Gina K had that, she was on Craft Roulette the first time and it was kind of like made the point that like, well, all these polished people who are doing polished designs, like that's not going to be your initial experience because, you know, these are people who have practiced and are trying to sort of, I don't know, produce like succinct content, right? So, anyway, I'll take some pictures of these and post them over on Lynn's group if you want to see in a little more detail. Yeah, I do too. I haven't seen. I would really like it if there were more whimsical things. Like I love the florals, but I feel like the one thing that sort of boxes the line in currently is it's like it's very much a specific look. But I mean, the technology could be used for anything. I'm curious if there's a way you could use your dies as better press plates. I don't think so, but if you could, that would be neat. Yeah, thanks for hanging with me, Lala. I know it's always a wild time in your part of the world this time of the year. Let's see. Oh, hi, Scott. Neat. I'll have to send you guys one. Let me see. Welcome, Eden. I don't think I've seen you here before. Oh, that's a good idea. I want to try Brayers over embossing. That looks like a really neat idea. Um, because I found my slow dry acrylic medium too, which I like using. Like I like using acrylic, but I also like using slow dry so you can clean it off. But I will post. I'll just do a post and sort of split and then add text to it that shows which is which, so that we can sort of compare and contrast. No, you're right, Kim. Like the vibe is very elegant, and I'm fine with that because I don't have a lot of elegant, but in my own personal collection, that's also that. But yeah, I don't have a lot of elegant, so like to me, it's nice to just add something new to my collection. But it's also as Maddie said, it's also kind of feels like um, if you're buying into the line, I think there's also questions around, you know, what you want to buy first, essentially. And it seems like, and I mean, I do like that most of their florals are pretty universal. I mean, to me, they feel like they're all of a specific season, but beyond that, they're all very strong. Oh, okay. I'll have to check her out. I don't know Anita that well. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I will be back at 4 o'clock my time over on Lynn's channel. We will be making snow things and chatting about my challenge, which is perhaps ready close to breaking the record in Lynn's group for most submitted cards. So if that happens, that'll be super cool. But I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever time it happens to be over by you guys. Oh, let me see what Linda said. Oh, yeah. I think everything looks used after a while, but anyway, thanks, Linda. I appreciate you being here because I know that like you've done some really cool things with the Better Press. So it's great to talk to someone who has more than like 2 hours of experience. See y'all later, and have a good rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it happens to be, whatever day it happens to be in your part of the world.